So, how to get started, jumping off the cliff and landing softly. So, first of all, you have to decide what kind of project you want to get involved with. Teaching or service, where you'd like to work, how long you want to go, how much work you want to do preparing for the project. And then, look around the room. For those of you who, we have a lot of people in this room who have done things. There's no question about that. So again, we're kind of preaching to the choir here, but this is something that when you take this, and I would strongly encourage you, to do something like this, you're more than welcome to these slides. The video is going to be on the, website. I will leave my flash drive with Jonathan, who will then pass it on to Tom. So feel free. You guys are welcome to any of this stuff to use it. All I ask is that you attribute it appropriately. That's all I ask. So, network. And if you want to plug into an existing program, and for those of you who have an existing program, you want to help people say, look, they may come to you and say, yeah, I want to do something here. You say, well, maybe you should do something somewhere else first. Plug into a program, come with us or somewhere else. Do that kind of thing. I mentioned HVO. I'll go through that. Actually, I'm going to back up just a second for the slides. The HVO project is certainly a training and education project. They've got projects all over the place. The dental projects are, in a variety of parts of the world. And they've got a project in Cambodia. They've got projects in various countries in Africa and other places as well. This is the ADA's website, and this is, again, steer people towards this. I don't know if there's something similar to this in any of the European dental associations, but the ADA International Volunteer website is very well developed, and it basically, since I wrote the original book for this, a lot of what you heard today is content that's on this website. But the other thing it has is it has organizations that are looking for volunteers. And so you may have people, or even among yourselves, who are looking for a project. And even though these may be U.S.-based, they're all over the place, and they take volunteers. Some of these organizations take volunteers from anywhere. So that's one place for some of you to take a look at. That's the website, internationalvolunteer.ada.org. And this is the Volunteer Connection. And so, they've got this is a little bit dated, but it has organizations that are listed. And one thing I would suggest that if you're looking, you guys may be getting enough volunteers. You guys may have enough visibility. But I would consider, and you can do it through us if you can't do it directly, approaching the ADA to see if your organizations can be posted on the ADA website. I don't think that's a bad idea because, part of what we're trying to do, and the ADA is very much in favor of working with the ICD, and mostly with the USA section, but certainly, we're all part of the same family, really. And so, there may be ways that you guys can make things a little bit more, make your projects a little more visible to the overall dental community. Why volunteer? We talked about that. Meeting oral health needs. And again, make sure that whatever project you're involved with is addressing local needs, not our particular wishes. If you want to go pull teeth and that's all you want to do, go find a project that just does oral surgery. That'd be great. But those projects are a dime a dozen. At least in the States, they're all over the place. But if you want to do other types of projects, more long-lasting projects, the Chernobyl project or some of the other things, there are lots of those projects out there as well. Talking about, again, thinking outside the box, atraumatic restorative treatment. I don't know, some of you guys familiar with that? Everybody familiar with that? Yeah, it's something that's great, and then you can train non-professionals to do that kind of thing. Yeah, is it the best dentistry? No, but is it helpful dentistry? Absolutely. Because some of the things you think about, and just the way we think about periodontal therapy sometimes, what are we doing? We're buying time. If nothing else, you might be buying 5 years, you might be buying 10 years. Just like periodontal therapy, in many cases, you're buying time until it's time to put in that implant. You're just pushing the day of reckoning down the road a little bit, and that may be the case with that as well. Types of projects, we've talked about this. Again, a lot of this information is on the ADA site. Sharing knowledge, we talked about this. We'll just go through this quickly. And then also how to get started, which is kind of where we are now. So, selecting the site. What's the political and social climate? You have to be safe. The primary role of the director of a project is everybody gets home safe and sound. Period. Nothing else matters if you lose a volunteer along the way. So, You have to be safe. My job is to make sure that we don't drive in overloaded trucks at night in the mountains with no brakes. Recipe for disaster. People are going to die when that happens. My job is to make sure we don't go on bad roads in the rain. The trucks have brakes. The truck tires have tread. And if they need tread, I have money to buy new tires. I mean, that's part of my job. And so I take that very, very seriously. Is the location politically and socially stable? Is it friendly, in our case, to Americans or to whomever? And can it be reached by reliable commercial transportation? Do you need special licenses? One of the nice things about working in the Dominican, it's fairly easy to work there. You don't really need any special registry. You go to Jamaica, though, it's a very different story. You have to do all kinds of registering, send your license, send your firstborn, send all kinds of things to Jamaica. License, malpractice, a variety of things to Jamaica before you can go and practice there. Remember, if you're practicing in a non-sanctioned area, that you may run afoul of local laws, and the State Department will not help you if you're breaking local laws. So just be aware of that. Are there appropriate logistics, ground transportation, housing, ability to communicate at home via cell phones? I mean, cell phones are just great. I mean, for these international projects, I know there's some places where you can't use them, but if you got the money and they're expensive, satellite phones sometimes it might be a worthwhile purchase. Internet access and food for the volunteers. What kinds of health alerts or restrictions are there, and what vaccinations are needed? In the States, the CDC and the State Department both have websites that have all those kinds of things, and I'm sure in the European Union that the information is available on site as well. Has the dental project been developed? Have specific needs been defined? It can be frustrating to prepare for a surgical project only to find that the restorative needs are what they want. Make sure felt needs for the locals is what you have to deal with. And are materials and equipment available on site, or does everything have to be brought in? And that's something that, as you know, you were showing the pictures of the containers yesterday. It can be tricky bringing stuff in. And over the years, our project has evolved. Your project, I'm sure, has evolved over the years of what you can and cannot bring in, whether you ship it over land, whether you have to send it by boat, whether you have to send it by air. The other thing is the whole equipment issue. And I wasn't going to spend much time on that today, but when you remember, sometimes their trash is your treasure. Other times, their trash is your trash. And so people want to donate all kinds of things. They want to give you equipment. But using say, secondhand equipment, donated equipment, there are several issues. One of which, of course, is people don't want to work on it because it's not registered with the location. Second, is it the same power? Same plugs? Can you get parts? Is there even anybody in the country to service the stuff? Unless you are the master mechanic yourself and have a full inventory of parts. I'm sorry.
The most dangerous thing in a dental practice is a dentist with a screwdriver.
No.
Don't go there.
All right. Well, I will have to beg to differ. What he said was the most dangerous thing in a dental practice is a dentist with a screwdriver. That's true, because most of the time you need an Allen wrench, actually. But the thing is, realistically, when you're on a project like this, I had to learn how to service my own equipment, because if I couldn't change a rheostat, that unit, we couldn't use it for the rest of the time. So we would be, at one time, we did have our spare parts. And now with the portable units we have, we actually bring them back to the States and then have them serviced by the manufacturer every year so that they're in good shape every time we take them. Yeah, it costs us a few $100, but that's okay. There's a couple of the Schein representatives here who represent Henry Schein Europe. Is that correct? Henry Schein Europe, that they talk about they will do some servicing of equipment. So how would somebody they contact their local Schein rep and then it goes through the connections, or how does that work? You'll come down in a couple of minutes. Okay, Simon, if you could deal with that in a couple of minutes, that'd be great. So there are possibilities to send technicians locally. I don't know if so much of that is happening in the States, but I'm glad it's happening over here. That's terrific. That's good things to know. As you're traveling, what are the customs restrictions, transporting supplies into the country? Does it have to be shipped ahead of time? And in our situation, things have changed completely from when we started the project. And then, is there a suitable facility in which to work? Will the patients or professional colleagues be available at the appropriate times? That's something to think about. You've got to, we can go when we can go, but is it comfortable for when can they receive us? Like in the Dominican, you don't go from December and January, you don't go. Not just because of Christmas, but the national holiday is in the middle of January. Nobody works. It's like coming to Europe in August. Where are you going to find people? Yeah, maybe you can go, do a project on the Riviera because that's where everybody is. or on vacation, they're on holiday somewhere. Maybe they're in the States, maybe they're all in New York. But the point is that you've got to pay attention to the local things. And if you think that, well, we're going to do some training in the evening, but particularly if dental school faculty are teaching during the day, a lot of them in certain countries are doing their own private practice at night, so they're not available for training. So you really have to work those kinds of things out. Assembling the team is important. For those of us, you don't overreach. One person is ultimately in charge. You're in charge of your project, you're in charge of your project, I'm in charge of my project. Okay? Delegate when possible. We cannot do it all ourselves. No question. And the other thing, this is key, you cannot talk anybody into going. The decision to go must be personal and independently made. We can make it sound great, but I can't talk you in, because the last thing I want to have is you're on a project, Anders, with me, not that and you say, darn it, why did I listen to you, Frank? That's the last thing I want to hear. But no. You came to me. I didn't come to you. That's the way it has to be, because these projects are not for everybody. And I've had people on our projects who said, Frank, thanks for taking me. I will never do this again. I have other people go with me all the time. It's just not in their personality to do these kinds of things. And then also remember that these are we projects and not us and them projects. Okay? Assembling the team, use the locals to organize, registering patients, crowd control. We have had riots. If you can believe it, people beating the stew out of each other to be first in line at the dentist. Does that ever happen in Ireland? I don't know. It doesn't happen that way. I got to tell you, it doesn't happen that way in the States. Okay? A lot of times we'll use local folks to assist. Yeah, people want to come, but if I bring people from the States who are not dentists, they have to have language skills. Or like my kids, maybe it's still a different story, but generally speaking, we try to use the locals as our assistants. Why? Because that makes them part of the project. And it makes them part of the whole thing. Washing, disinfecting, sterilizing instruments, interpreting, cooking, performing other tasks as a need arises. You cannot do these projects without a very good relationship with your local counterparts. Equipping the projects, and here we come here just for a minute. Warm up there, Simon. Okay? Service versus teaching. Some of the needs are the same, some are different. You have to have checklists. Check your electricity. It's nice there at the Shelburne that they do have a 110 outlet in every room, so I can charge my phone. I brought my little converter things, but I don't have to use them. Make sure there's something else. And how reliable is your electricity? We go to areas that don't have electricity, so we bring our own generators. We bring our own power, and we buy the power in the Dominican Republic. It's interesting. The generators we buy in the Dominican Republic are exactly the same as the one I have in my garage. When they showed me the first time, I said, oh yeah, we want to buy these Generac things. I said, great generator. I've got one myself. Go buy 3 of them. So we now have 3 of them down there, perfectly reliable, and we have everything we need as far as power goes. Water, can you drink it? Do you boil it? Do you get bottled water? I'll tell you, the advent of bottled water has been a big boon. It's really helped us quite a bit. Transportation, roads, vehicles, safety first, second, and third. Okay? Portable equipment. What do you need? Where can you get it? And supplies, and where to get them, and how to pay for it all. We'll get into this, but now I think this would be a good time, Simon, if you want to come up for a couple minutes and join us. Yep. And remind me of your last name. I'm sorry.
Gambold. Simon Gambold.
Gambold. Okay, Simon Gambold is VP for Shine Europe. And I met him yesterday for the first time. I've had a long-term relationship with Shine, both professionally and also personally. They have helped us a lot in the States. And this personal opinion of mine, I really have had a very long and lovely relationship working with Henry Shine. I know a lot of the guys on the state side. It's nice to get a chance to meet some of the Shine reps here. And so Simon's going to spend a few minutes talking about Shine has a philanthropic arm as well, something called Shine Cares, Henry Shine Cares, and some other ways that Shine can be of help, both to the people in this room and also to the folks who will be looking at this video.
Okay, thanks, Frank. So industry is here to help you, and we want to help you, but there's a couple of things that you guys can do to help us. The average practitioner uses 300 or 400 products. So we stock about 30,000 consumable products. And if you add equipment and parts and implants, we've got 90,000 products in stock. So we've got a very sophisticated global supply chain that hopefully puts the product on your desk in the box 99.9% right the next day, every day. That's a very sophisticated supply chain. So for me to interrupt it, to donate something, is quite a challenge. So we get lists of requirements in which say, files. Well, I've got thousands of files. They say medium gloves. I've got hundreds of medium gloves. So number one is to define the products that you're looking for. And if you've got product codes, that would be fantastic. That would be really good. Secondly, the time frame. It often seems that the request for materials, everything else is arranged, then we think, I need some materials. So I put a list together, and we get notes saying, we're going to Belize next month, or we're going to Kenya next week. Can we have this lot? So I've got a global supply chain, and particularly with a large requirement, I talk to my supplier partners who quite often will donate products. So I need to contact them, and we need to get approvals. We need to code the list, cost it. If I could have 3 months for big projects, that would be fantastic. I can live with 2 months, and we will always try, even with a few days' notice, to sort things out, but it will make it a lot easier that way. So Henry Schein particularly, all companies will support you, I think, but Henry Schein in particular has committed a 3-year program with ICD to provide a minimum of $100,000 worth of donations over the 3 years. And we'll do lots of things outside of that. You can approach Henry Schein. You can approach us in the countries you want to go to, or I think it's better to approach us in the countries you're working in. You've got more leverage and you've got more connectivity there. We have 18,000 people in 28 countries around the world. So part of our culture is to have local leadership. So for example, in China, in Taiwan, and South Africa, Brazil, there's a Henry Schein leader that you can talk to about that market space. And we're entering new markets all the time. So if you talk to us in your local country, we can organize technical support. The best way to embed it is for our technician not only to install and service your equipment, but to train local technicians. So we often go into situations where we'll train hospital technicians to come and service the dental equipment. And I agree totally, as soon as the dentist starts interfering, sorry, rephrase that. As soon as the dentist starts...
It's okay, the engineers always ask me, have you had the back of this?
Yeah. So it is easier with simple equipment, but even with simple equipment, it's easier to screw stuff up. So we'd rather have a technician do that. It's a lot better. Can I just say a couple of things about values? Sure. Because we talked about values earlier. You're right to be cautious about who you partner with, which companies you pick, because lots of companies now talk about corporate social responsibility, but you have to look at how companies behave and what they really do. And I've been with Henry Schein for over 20 years because I believe in our values, integrity, professionalism, honesty, mutuality, and they align quite closely with the ICD, so I think it's quite a good partnership for that reason. So when you come to us, we'll tell you honestly whether we can do something or we can't do something, and we're more than happy to help out in a whole raft of different ways. So please reach out to us, and as early as you can in the process, please, so we can add more value that way. Frank.
Thank you. I really appreciate the Schein folks being here, because I know they didn't have to necessarily spend their morning, coming to this presentation, but I think it goes to talk about the values of the company. I happen to know several of the top leaders of the company, and there's no question that this is what they're about. And I think the Henry Schein Cares Foundation has really done great work, over the years. And I think, you can do well by doing good, and there's no question Henry Schein has done very well, over the years. But they also have done a lot of good, and the company really stands behind that. And I know I'm having a senior moment. What's Stanley's last name? Thank you. Stan Bergman, who's the CEO of Henry Schein, is an honorary fellow of the ICD and came in last year, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Are you too, Simon? Oh, congratulations to Simon. I was not aware of that. Congratulations to you. Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, that's really great. Stan Bergman, Steve Kess. I know those guys from the headquarters on Long Island, and they really are, part of this. You work with other companies as well, but you know, all I can say is it is, and of course everybody has every company has their limits, and everybody. I talk about donor fatigue, and I've not seen that yet from Shine. But you get donor fatigue and you get volunteer fatigue after a while, just because, you know, it's the same people doing the same things all the time. But I will say from a corporate perspective that these guys do a great job. And so I just wanted to thank you guys for being here today. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me personally this morning that you two have taken the time to spend with us. All right, so let's finish up. How to pay for it all. Lots of ways to do it. Private donations. Our project is all privately funded. I have a guy I met one day for 2 minutes. I explained the project to him. He goes, "Oh, this is something I've always wanted to be involved in." He sends us a $10,000 check every year. Yeah, because it hit him in the right place. Because he knows the money's going to a place. We have no overhead for our project. Zero overhead for our project. I have other donors as well. You know, some of you in your practices may have patients. I told the story about a couple of my patients. There are a lot of ways to get funds. It turns out in our personal family, you know, it is our major philanthropic contribution to our own project, which makes some sense as well. Okay, foundations, you know, you can do it through foundations. Henry Schein Cares supports lots of different things. You go to their website, their criteria are very clearly spelled out on the types of projects that they're looking to fund. Government grants, of course, anytime you get some sort of either foundation money or government money, just be careful of what strings are attached. If you can live with the strings and the limitations, great. If you can't, that's fine. If you can live with the reporting requirements, great. If you can't, go find your money someplace else. You know, part of the reason I use private foundations in the States and don't have a nonprofit corporation of my own, I don't want to do the IRS paperwork. I don't want to do the tax paperwork, so I'll let somebody else do it. And I pay a service fee of $700 a year to service our accounts, basically a pass-through account where we submit the bills to them. Everybody can donate tax deductible donations. And so there are a lot of ways that kind of stuff can work out.